It's not just Vegas. It's Phil Steele. It's a little bit of everybody that just does not flat out believe in the Mountaineers, except for me.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what is up, guys? Welcome back in. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your host. This is Locked On West Virginia, baby. Welcome in, guys, to the show today. I appreciate you all for joining in. I haven't recorded yet today, which is unusual. Usually I've got one out by now. I just haven't been able to get to it. Running out of content for the week as well, but we do have a great show for you today. I've worked really hard on getting some numbers for you to be excited about. So we're going to do that as well, guys. Thank you for joining in, like I said. And let's acknowledge the channel sponsors before we go any further here. This episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by Mazda. Listen, Mazda, like our players, sweat every detail. Because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward with Mazda. Move and be moved. And thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first, Mazda, your first listen, and for being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we talk about your team, the Mountaineers, every single day. All right, so a couple things, guys. The Vegas line, from what I understand, still at 12.5 today, although I haven't checked it since earlier this morning. I'm just going to go ahead and run with that. It's where it's been. It's been anywhere from 13.5, I think, down to 11.5 where it started. And we've already discussed the reasoning for that, at least the reasons we think, right? Number one, West Virginia is coming off an incredibly emotional win in overtime versus the hated rival Pitt. Number two, Missouri beat Kansas, and they've had a bye week. So not only are they coming off a bye, but they've had 2 weeks to stew on that. Number three, Lance Leopold, outside of his first year, when they were really bad, went 2-10, undefeated coming off the bye. Those are all really good numbers that favor Kansas, right? Or really good situations that favor Kansas. So I thought I would go into a good on good segment, right? What does West Virginia do well? What does Kansas do well? And how do we feel about when they clash? What's going to happen? Spoke to a Kansas beat writer earlier who feels like the West Virginia front isn't as good as the Missouri front. That very well could be the case. But I can't, in good confidence, sit here and tell you that it's not as good. So far, West Virginia's front has been elite. Doesn't matter who's been out there. It can be Ohio. It can be, I'm going to see Robert Morris, but or even Pitt. I think that we're probably not third in the country good. We'll probably fall a little bit, but we just need to be in the top 30, top 40 to be really effective. A lot of that is Zach Alley and the way he coaches. So, that's part of it as well. But let's get into the good on good. And I've got a lot of sources where I got this information. Some of this is coming from three guys for the game before the game. Some of this is coming from inside the gun. Jed Drenning always has great stuff. Some of this is coming from, forgive me, a couple other places, guys. I think I might even got something from Skylar Callahan. So, because I watch all the pregame shows, and anytime I hear a little nugget, I write it down, right? I don't think that's stealing. I think the numbers are everybody's to share. Just if I hear a number, I'm going to keep it in mind, So that's kind of what this is. I've taken all the different pregame shows and taken a little piece from each one because I respect everybody's show, which is why I could just say I looked these up on my own and nobody would probably know the difference, but I'm not going to do that, right? So, okay. One thing that Kansas has done extremely well, and we'll show you as we break it down just a little bit here. Kansas has been elite in the first quarter at scoring the football. It's kind of like Neil Brown, if you'll remember. One of the weird things, one of the odd things Neil Brown was really good at was script in place. He was just always good for that. And, we scored on the first possession a lot. And for whatever reason, we didn't score after that very much, But that first possession, excuse me, guys. You guys know this dang medicine it's a side effect of the medicine I take. Gives me the yawns. But look, if you look against Missouri, Kansas scored 21 points in the first quarter and only 10 after that because Missouri made the appropriate adjustments. 14 of that, or 7 of that, was on defense. They had a scoop and score. So you can subtract 7 or not from that. It's really up to you and your preferences, obviously. We'll probably not subtract it for now. If you look against Wagner, Kansas scored 14 in the first the first quarter of that game. They also scored 15 in the second. Obviously, Wagner, not a great football team. Goodness gracious, man, I hate this medicine. And then 14 again versus Fresno, who was 1-1. So there's a lot to chew on there because what about West Virginia? What have they done in the first 3 games in the first quarter on defense? Interesting that you ask that question. Against Pitt, 0 points in the first quarter were given up. What about against Ohio? 3 points in the first quarter were given up. What about against Robert Morris? 0. So 3 points on the year given up in the first quarter for West Virginia. Kansas has scored their ass off in the first quarter to the tune of 49 points. Something's got to give in the first quarter of this game. Something's got to give. Oh, man. You guys are making fun of me for yawning. I see you in the comments. So that's second nationally for Kansas in the first quarter. Jalen Daniels has got touchdowns on everybody, man. I mean, he just continuously shreds people so far this year in the first quarter. It's a big part of it. Fresno State was really, in my opinion, the ones they hurt the worst. They were big chunk plays. Everybody else is a little more methodical. It's their most prolific first quarter start since 2021. So they actually had a better first quarter start in 2021, which is hard to believe, but true. Obviously, we've only allowed 3 points, which is this is so annoying, man. I can't stand it. Plus 11 scoring margin, which ranks among the nation's top 10 in first quarter efficiency. But, West Virginia has limited opponents to a 53.8 completion percentage rate on 13 first quarter pass attempts. They've also forced 3 and outs on 67% of early drives and allowed only 42 rushing yards total in the first quarter while generating 2.3 tackles per loss per game, which completely stifles momentum. Those were stats I looked up. So who's going to win that good-on-good matchup? It's a great question that I don't know the answer to. But I'm going to lean – I'm going to say Kansas scores in the first quarter. They're too good. They're at home. I don't know if it's going to be a field goal or a touchdown. I don't think they get more than 7 in the first quarter. If they do, then we could be in a little bit of trouble early and have to play catch up. We don't want to have to do that. Definitely don't want to have to do that with our offense traveling. Hopefully we figured some things out, but we don't know that yet. We need Grayson Barnes to continue on the track he's on. I think that's going to be a big part of it. Okay, another good-on-good matchup is the Kansas offensive line. They've had really fast starts, but their offensive line has struggled with pass protection. They've allowed 20-plus pressures, 10 to Fresno State, 10-plus to Missouri, 4 sacks. So, Daniels has escaped with 3 sacks on the year. So, even though he's had all these pressures, he's escaped with only 3 sacks. This is so annoying, man. I wish I would just not take the medicine, but I have to at the same time every day. I apologize that you guys got to sit through it. So 2.9 seconds to throw for Jalen Daniels. That's really quick. That's 1,000, 2 1,000, and then he's winding up and it's gone. You basically have to destroy your person that's trying to block you or really get after it unblocked, most likely, to get there. There are even some plays on tape where there are people come unblocked, and Daniels still is able to get the ball out. There was a one to Hanukkah against Missouri where that happened. He got hit and still threw a touchdown pass. So, it's an interesting scenario versus West Virginia's pass rush dominance. Obviously, we rank 3rd nationally in sacks at 4.3 a game, top 10 in pressures at 7.2 per game, and 13 sacks, 22 hurries through the first 3 games. Obviously, what we did last week versus Pitt, where we had 6 sacks, 17 hurries, is elite. That's 41% of your pressures in the sacks. Problem is, Jalen Daniels isn't going to hold the ball that long. And this is now you add Jimmori Robinson, the 2024 American Athletic Conference Defensive Player of the Year. So there is a lot to chew on here. And I'm going to give the win to West Virginia on this one. I think West Virginia gets to Jalen Daniels in this game a couple times. I do. I think they get to him a couple times. Not as many as Holstein, but if you can get to him 2 or 3 times, especially early, that would be great. That would be huge. That way West Virginia can hopefully get some momentum going on offense. That's what we really need here. So the Mountaineers' early game shutdowns are obviously the result of the sack-happy defense. I think it should neutralize with Kansas's quick strike tendencies as an offense, and hopefully with Robinson and his fresh legs should be able to crash the party a little bit. And I think it's probably going to be a low-scoring first half, in my opinion. But it could be maybe not. I'm just thinking that's kind of the way things are kind of shaping up here. Let's go to break. We'll come back. We'll look at some over-under stuff that I saw in an article that I found to be really interesting. And we'll kind of give our opinions on what we feel those over-unders should look like as far as, do we agree? Like, will Nico have 200 passing yards? Will he have 50 rushing yards? Those kind of things. Stick around. We'll be right back. This is Locked On West Virginia. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by our friends over at Mazda. This episode is brought to you by Mazda, where you keep the game moving forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. Well, there are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment to move the game forward is the touchdown pass in overtime, of course, to send the game to overtime. The game was winding down, and a great catch by Grayson Barnes with the guy draped all over him. That moment that defined the game, and at the end of the day, pushed West Virginia to a win. That's what keeps West Virginia moving forward, as well as Mazda. So when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to every Mazda vehicle. Mazda. Move and be moved. And, of course, we can't go any further without our friends over at Wayfair. Listen, the weather's cooling down outside to my chagrin. The days are getting shorter, and that has me wanting to make my home even cozier. And when it comes to cozifying your space this fall, Wayfair is the place to go. Wayfair has everything you need to set the mood for the season, whether it's comfy, recliners, warm bedding, autumn decor, or even an espresso machine to make you feel have your favorite latte at home. Look, what I love most is variety. Wayfair has options for every style, every budget. You don't really have to compromise. You can do what you want here. The delivery is fast, free, and hassle-free, which makes a huge difference when you're refreshing your home. Cozify your space with Wayfair's curated collection of easy, affordable fall updates. From comfy recliners to cozy bedding and autumn decor, you'll find it all for way less at wayfair.com. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. Segment 2, crack a Gatorade do. Let's do some over-under stuff. That should be kind of fun here. By the way, just a couple opinions. KU's overhyped, in my opinion, on this 13.5 points, 12.5, wherever it's at now. Double-digit spreads, like you would think we were playing a top 15 team on the road. Maybe that's what they turn into, and we just don't know it yet. That could be it. Maybe Missouri is that good, and I don't know it. Their offense has been really good, 30-plus points in every game, but that doesn't mean that's an unbeatable attack. It got flashed and gashed for 25 missed tackles in the loss to Missouri. West Virginia's front seven is as good as Missouri's, in my opinion, and they don't have a Jimmori Robinson over there. So West Virginia ranks top 10 in run stuffs, holding foes to 2.8 yards per carry. But we haven't really faced an elite offensive line yet. What's not going to happen this week either. Kansas has a average at best offensive line. They're in the same shape we're in my opinion, actually. So if the Mountaineers stuff the box early, Daniel's quick throws could turn into panic mode picks, especially if you're placing hurry on him, putting the hurries on him. Obviously, I think our momentum is real. I think that we're a better football team than people think. I really believe this right now. As long as we stay uninjured, I think we're riding a defensive surge here, and we're top 20 in red zone stops. We've got a 2-1 record. We shouldn't have never lost to Ohio. And, experts are calling it Kansas all day. Well, I'm calling it West Virginia. I think Kansas, I get why they're favored. I get it. But our secondary is giving a 53% opponent's completion percentage rate. And I think we could have something to say, especially with that 28% pressure rate that the Kansas offensive line has going on. So, the pundits, they can admit that the line feels generous as well. Some people have. It's a big line. Kansas hasn't beaten a ranked team yet. West Virginia's third in sacks. I easily turn it to a 10-point swing, in my opinion. And even though Phil Steele and everybody else usually is right, might be all in on Kansas, but call me the contrarian, but I see West Virginia covering and winning in this game. But they're going to need to do a couple things for it to happen. Force a couple turnovers. It's going to have to do some things. You're going to have to make some plays. But I believe in this team. I think Rich Rod's already seeped in to that Mountaineer hard edge mentality. All right. Over-unders to watch versus Kansas. These are from Skylar Callahan, I believe. No, this is from Hale, West Virginia. So I'm just going off of theirs. They've got it set at 99.5 rushing yards for Ty Edwards. As we all know, Ty Edwards had a really, really big week last week against Pitt. Is Pitt's defense better than Kansas defense? I would say they're probably very similar. I think you could probably say it's better. They certainly have really good players with Kyle Lewis and company. This is tough. If I knew that Ty Edwards was at 100%, I would say over 100 yards. I'm going to go under on this one. I think we're going to struggle to score at times. I don't know if he's going to – maybe he's healthy, but he was dinged up in that game late. He was not at 100%. He's not fully back into it yet as far as in shape goes. Hopefully that continues to happen for him, but, I could see him getting 80 or 90 yards, but I think he's probably going to be used on the goal line. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get a touchdown or two. But Kansas is going to make Nico Marchiol beat him. It's just the way it is. So I don't see that. I can see Clay Ash, Sincere Bowers. I think it's going to be more of a committee type approach on this one because you're going to need Ty Edwards for the rest of the year. And I don't know if he's just quite ready to carry it 15 or 20 times yet. He carried it 25 times last week. I hope he proves me wrong. But, yeah, so we'll see what happens there. 239.5 passing yards for Jalen Daniels. He's been around for a long time. He's got 9 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. 72% of his passes have been complete. Put up 31 on Missouri. But he only threw for 223 yards in that game. This is a tough one, too. Holstein went for 300 last week. I'm going to say he goes over. I'm going to say he does a 250-ish. It's not going to be a lead or anything like that. I think they're going to score. We're not going to be able to hold them totally out. They're too good. Will they score 21 points, 25 points, maybe? But I think, overall we keep them in check. We sack them a bunch. But we're going to give up a couple plays. That's what our defense does with all the aggression that Zach Alley has. Total number of sacks. Both teams have been proven to be effective at getting to the quarterback and disrupting plays in the backfield. Obviously, Kansas had 4 sacks and 7 TFLs in the loss of Missouri. West Virginia had 6 and 8 TFLs in the win over Pitt. If this happens again, where the defense continually disrupt the flow of the game, could they get to that line of 21.5? I don't think so. No way. We're talking about sacks and TFLs together, by the way. So that would be like both teams would have to have both teams would have to have, 4. Let's say they both have, one, 3 sacks and 7 TFLs, right? A piece. That's puts you at 20. It's going to be really hard. If that happens, I think it's going to be close. I think we're definitely going to give up a sack or 2. I'll say it's probably going to be under, though. For turnovers forced by West Virginia, they've got it at 1.5. Obviously, we've been pretty good at turning people over so far this year. A lot of that has to do with Zach Alley and how he schemes. If he sees a quarterback struggle with something, he figures out a way to implement that in the game. But I'm going to say under. I don't think he throws more than 1. He's just not that kind of quarterback. He doesn't throw. He throws short, quick passes. It's not like he's going 20 yards down the field all the time. If he was that kind of quarterback, I would feel better about it. But let him try Michael Coach Jr., who's only given up 2 passes for 3 yards on the year, which is wild. Wild stuff, man. I'll throw in a couple others. That's a great one, Drum Wolf. Okay, let's go with that one really quick. Number of Kansas players that fake injuries throughout the game. Let's put the over-under at, what did Pitt have last game? Probably 10. So we'll put the over-under at 7.5. If West Virginia wins, it's probably going to be right around that number, right? Because we're going to run 70, 80 plays, keep them on their heels. But I don't think Leipold's as much of a piece of crap as Narduzzi is. And I mean that. Narduzzi's a piece of crap. So I'm going to go with under 7.5, but I do think they try it if we get momentum. Surely they won't do it the whole game like Pitt did. Surely not. We'll see. Be wild if they did. Be crazy, man. We'll do one more. Over under. What's the good one? Over under 50 receiving yards for Cam Vaughn. Over or under 50 receiving yards for Cam Vaughn. Obviously, he hasn't had a bunch of opportunities, especially last game. But I think he's, got the ability to really go off for 150 yards in a game easy. If there was ever going to be a game that you do it, this is the one. Can you get behind that secondary and make some magic happen? I think there's a possibility. I'm going to go over. I think Cam Vaughn goes over in this game. I think he does. I think he has a touchdown, and I think he has 100 yards receiving. I'm a big Cam Vaughn guy in this game. I don't know who's going to throw it to him in every situation. I think it's going to be Nico, but actually, we'll now that we're on the subject of Nico, one more. Over 200 passing yards for Nico and under 200 passing yards and under 2 touchdowns for Nico in the air. I'll say under 200 passing yards, and I'll say under 2 touchdowns. I think you get 1.5 on each of those. I think our running, obviously, we're going to run it in the end zone if we score. But I do think Nico can get close to 200 passing yards. I'd love to see him go off, but I don't think he's quite there yet. So thanks, Rocky. All right, let's go back to break again. We'll come back and give the final thoughts on this game before we play it tomorrow. This should be fun. We'll be right back. This episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by Square College. This episode is brought to you by Square College, your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home. Whether it's the local sports bar packed on game days, the coffee shop that knows your order by heart, or the corner deli that's been serving your community for decades, these are the places that bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. Look, there's a couple spots around here in my neighborhood that comes alive every Sunday during football season. Everyone's in team colors. The energy is incredible. And it feels like the entire block is cheering together. Obviously, we love those kind of spots in Morgantown. We even have them around here as well. Although I'm not a Marshall fan, there's a couple good spots around here. If you like to watch the Marshall games, and like there's a Giovanni's Pub around here that's pretty popular. A couple bars people go to. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/lockedoncollege to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot and you'll be happy you did. Square. See you in the neighborhood. See you at the movies. This episode of Locked On West Virginia also going to be brought to you by DoorDash. It's almost that time. It's almost the weekend. And for one more time, let's take a look back and crown this week's MVP. Who delivered? Powered by DoorDash. Just like you win every Saturday with DoorDash streaks, saving money every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. For West Virginia, I got to go with Michael Coach Jr. delivered in a big way. Michael Coach Jr. has given up 2 total pass attempts completions for 3 yards on the year. Nobody throws his way because he's that good. He's been a godsend at corner. And when the pressure's on, Michael Coach Jr. came through. No hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching week after week, this performance wasn't a fluke. Michael Coach Jr. is on a streak. And just like Michael Coach Jr. delivered for West Virginia, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash streaks. You save every Saturday you order, so stack it up all season, and you can save $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday, keep the streak alive, fuel your game day only with DoorDash when the terms apply. Promo code through November 18th. All right, we are back here, Locked On West Virginia, guys. I appreciate you so much as we continue on here through the rest of the episode. All right. It's going to be a fun game tomorrow. I understand that it's a very losable game for us. I understand why the spread is what it is and all that. Let's look at the spread again really quick because, maybe it's surely some money's come in on West Virginia by now. Is it going to stay above 11.5? I mean, let's see. Go to FanDuel. All right. So as of right now, 6 hours ago, still 13.5. Surely to God, not. Is it really 13.5 points still? Guys, that's just crazy. That's 2 touchdowns. That is a huge amount. And it's scary because they don't miss usually. I mean, it's just a fact. Vegas doesn't usually miss on this stuff. The fact that the line keeps growing as the week goes on is very concerning. Maybe there's something they have to know something I don't know. Or maybe our team is that unknown that people just don't know. Like, we have such a good defense. It's just maybe I don't know how to quantify it. I understand there are people that only bet situations like the one we're in, where a team's coming off a bye and a team's coming off a rivalry or an emotional win. And apparently the team in our situation is that. But why? Why is the team in our situation at such a disadvantage? Has anybody ever asked that question? Like, why is that a thing? Like, what is the letdown exactly? Like, I don't ever remember playing any less than my hardest in my life. Regardless, it's like, what is the letdown and how does it happen? Like, what is it exactly? Does it mean they're not focusing on Kansas because they're still thinking about Pitt? Or are they just like, it's just hard for me to believe that at 18-22, when you're in the best shape of your life, that a week later you can't play the game, at least at a similar high level. I just would like to quantify exactly what a letdown is, like specifically, what is that? Because it just sometimes it makes no sense to me. Like, I understand the road environment and why that gives people points. It's loud, it's uncomfortable, you're not familiar with everything. That makes sense. Like, I can quantify that. That makes sense. It's also way across the country. Okay, fine. I can understand 5 or 7 points for that. But just because you win an emotional game gives me a headache. I guess the couple that was the fact that they're on a bye. They've had extra time to prepare for us. But I don't count us out at all. I still picking West Virginia to win the game. But it's a frustration to even think about. That's for sure. Let's see what happens tomorrow. We'll be here live post-game after the show, guys. Make sure you're here. I'll be going live just as soon as the clock hits 0. I'll be live unless something crazy happens. It's another big moment for Locked On college football fans. Locked On and Fire TV present College Football's Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview with Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation along two-time AB Coach of the Year, Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. It's a college football preview only Locked On can do. Do me a favor and catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. All right, guys, thanks for coming, joining in. Love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow after the game. It'll be a great game. It's going to be fun. Let's hope the Mountaineers get that win so we can celebrate together here after the game. I'll see you then, baby. Good night.